Checo made it 2 races in a row where he gets P1. Congratulations to Checo. I mean, the Drivers' Championship is tight. It is like I think they're within like 6 points. I'm going to bring that up here in a second, but it is a close race. Now, of course, it's only 4 races. We can't get too high on it. We can't get too low on it because it does matter somewhat. And okay, Verstappen has 93 points. Perez has 87. So I nailed it. It was 6 points.
Yeah.
So this is a very close race, and a lot of people have argued that it was very similar to last year, how Checo and Max Verstappen were. But to me, it kind of feels a little different. I don't know about you. But I guess the main question is, can Sergio Perez, in your opinion, can he rival Max Verstappen in the Drivers' Championship this year?
I think yes. I think he can. And the reason why is because, especially this past race, his win was pretty dominant.
Yeah.
I know Christian Horner got on the radio and told Max Verstappen that he got lucky with that safety car, but even so, he still beat Max by how much was it? A good second and something?
Yeah, I can pull that up, but
like it wasn't like Max was on his tail. He was trailing. So I think it's legit. I think it's for real. Checo's a good driver. I think he's proving that. Yes, they want to say he's king of the streets and it's been street races these past 2 races, but he's in the same car as Max, and it just seems like he has a better handle on the car right now. And so I think it's for real. I would love to see it be for real. Checo's my boy. I want him to make the run for the championship.
Yeah. Vamos, Mexico. So Sergio Perez beat Max Verstappen by a little over 2 seconds in the race.
So, yeah.
And that's pretty significant. And I will say Verstappen was starting to kind of creep up on Perez a little bit. And so, like, it ended up being kind of, I don't know. It ended up kind of being a little bit closer than it should have in the first place. But I do think that, you know, Verstappen is kind of struggling, and like I don't know, from what I see on the like on the broadcast when they're talking about the race or during the race, they're bringing up like, oh, you know, Verstappen on the radio, and he's constantly complaining, oh, the balance is off. And it's like minor things, but he's talking about it like it's going to be the end all be all. And I know there's going to be people who are going to scream at me and go, oh, well, you know, they're driving at these high speeds, like everything does matter. And I agree. I completely understand that. But at the same time, you're not hearing Sergio Perez on the radio going, you know, this balance is crap and everything is going to, you know, is going to blow up here in a second if we don't get this fixed. And, you know, I can't push because of this, or, you know, oh, he cut me off and blah, blah, blah. Like, he doesn't do it. And maybe it's the broadcast not putting it up there, and that's very possible. But for all intents and purposes, everyone gets all mad, like especially Max Verstappen fans who are like, well, it's the media who are making him a bad guy. I don't think so necessarily. Like, I think he kind of, you know, it exacerbates who he is. Like the whole George Russell issue that he had during the sprint race, which was completely ridiculous in my opinion. Like, he was so mad. He's still talking about it.
Yeah.
They asked George Russell about it this week, and he was like, I don't know. He's just crying. Like, he was like, it's ridiculous. I said I was sorry. I said it was my bad. And he just didn't accept it, you know? And so I think it's Max Verstappen putting himself in that situation. And it could very well be, like I said, the media could also be playing a part in it where they're not really showing, okay, Sergio Perez is complaining, or, you know, whoever. But like even Charles Leclerc or Carlos Sainz, like they should be fuming on how Ferrari is doing right now. Like it's ridiculous that they're not better. But you don't really hear them complaining about the other drivers. The only person you ever really hear say that is Fernando Alonso and Max Verstappen. And Fernando Alonso, for all intents and purposes, has been known to be a jerk in Formula One. And it's not taking anything away about how good of a driver he is. he's just not a likable guy all the time. This year he has been because he's been successful.
Yeah.
So, of course, winning does help. But Max Verstappen is successful, and yet he's still complaining like this. I think it's just Max Verstappen. I think it's okay to say that.
It is. And I want to go back to your point about him complaining about these tiny, insignificant, well, not insignificant, but like arbitrary things. I think Max isn't dumb. He knows these snippets are going to be used. And I feel like that's him building his narrative already of like, okay, this is why I'm not doing well, because these things are wrong with the car. And so it's the car. It's not me.
Yeah.
It's not me.
Yeah.
It can't be me.
He's been in Formula One kind of, I don't want to say a long time, but a good enough time to at least like know how things are going to work, you know? And it just seems odd that he's complaining about the car, yet he's still like, I mean, he was ahead of Charles Leclerc, who ended up in third. Mm-hmm. He was ahead of him by 19 seconds. So what are you really complaining about?
Yeah.
It really seems, at least to you and I, it really seems like he's just complaining because he's not winning. He's not coming in first. It's Checo, and it just so happens to be his teammate. So he's got to make up an excuse to kind of downplay how he's driving. So I agree with you. I think Verstappen knows what he's doing, and it's just because he can't stand it, which we want people to be competitive, but you also have a job as a human being to be like, I mean, Lewis Hamilton for years was praising Valtteri Bottas in everything. And then you could be like, well, Bottas was always coming in second. There were races where Bottas came in first and Hamilton either crashed or, you know, just had a bad pit stop and ended up in second or third. There were races like that all the time. I mean, not a ton, but there were some. And let's be honest, Bottas was not at the level of Hamilton. So you could have, Sergio Perez. You know, you could also make the argument where Hamilton was he's always proven to be a decent human being. He was always like, you know what, I'm so proud of Bottas. You know, he made he had a great drive, and, you know, I had some issues, but, you know, he definitely was able to kind of fight through them or, you know, didn't have the same issues. And, you know, he had a better drive. Like, why is it not okay to say that? I don't understand why Verstappen can't just be like, you know what, I was having problems, but, you know, Checo had a really good race.
Yeah.
You know, he won this race, and it's good points for the team. And so I'm, you know, hopefully I can pull my weight next race or something. Like, you know, it's okay to say he had a good race. I didn't have as good of a race.
Yeah.
So that's what we're talking about with Verstappen. Anyway,
what I think is going to be interesting though is if Checo does take the lead in the championship, I think it puts Christian Horner's statement of, oh, we don't have a number one driver on this team to the test. Because is that true? Or I think it's not. Yeah. I think Max is his boy, and Checo just happens to be doing well right now.
Yeah, and it goes back to your point. Exactly what you were saying. Christian Horner was even saying, oh, you know, Checo got lucky in this one. And like he couldn't even say, Checo, that was a great race. You did a great job. Yeah. You know, what a win. And then tell Verstappen, yeah, Checo had a really good race, man.
They don't even show Horner talking to Checo.
No,
after the race,
he never celebrates with him.
Yeah.
That was the other thing. They were complaining about, there was one where Lewis Hamilton was going to celebrate, and like, there was like none of his guys. I think it was last year, a couple of years ago, and there was like none of his guys, and he was just like waiting there, and they made a big deal about it. But why is it not a big deal that every time Checo has won so far, Horner's nowhere to be seen?
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden they're doing the national anthem for the Mexican national anthem. And then he's standing there acting like he was all pride. And it kind of made me feel like, well, because Verstappen's up there with them, that's why he's there.
Yes.
You know, I think it needs to be a bigger deal. And I like that you brought that up too.